You know, those are the ones that we want to do. And bottom line is that we have a responsibility to pass on to our grandkids and generations along a better world than we had, and we're not doing it, right? On the course that we're on right now, most people agree that we're heading in the wrong direction, no matter what angle you choose. And I think when people say one member of Congress can't make a difference, that's ridiculous. One can. There's a lot of power that a congressman has. And I started seeing it all this whole year. Example on the ports. Again, I'm sorry if I use that example too much, but it symbolizes when the federal government's not involved and they should be. They had 4 hearings on the air pollution at the port. The 4th one was 3 weeks ago in San Pedro. And they had the AQMD and the state legislature and these groups together that came up with the plan to clean up the pollution from the ports operations. And the 4th hearing, they had an open mic so people from the public could come up and speak their piece. And I listened to them for 3 hours. These people are so knowledgeable of this situation, you'd be amazed. They know the number of children with asthma in Long Beach and San Pedro, and they know the air particles per million or whatever, you know. They know those facts cold. And they got up and talked about them. But for 3 hours, not one word was mentioned about the federal government. You know, and I was shocked. And then I looked around, well, where was Rohrabacher? You know, not one person from his office. You know, you had Senator Lowenthal there, the state senator from that area, and Betty Carnett, the assembly person, Janice Hahn, the Los Angeles city council member for that district. No Rohrabacher, you know, at any of the 4 hearings. So I got up and spoke at the end, and I said I was shocked that I listened for 3 hours at all of these things. And they were upset, and rightfully so, that they were having to bear the burden of this cost for cleaning up this pollution. It was a little over $1 billion. And the plan they came up with was so ridiculous that they're going to fund this, hoping that they get a share of the bond issue that we're voting on in November for the infrastructure. You know, Schwarzenegger's bond issue, they're hoping that they get a piece of that. In order to, that's their source of funding for this whole plan that's put together. And I said, I don't understand. 40% of all the containers in the United States that come in the United States go through those 2 ports. It's almost 1/3 of our gross national product goes through there. How in the world could that not be a federal problem? Why weren't there federal people there at these hearings? Why aren't they participating in these decisions? This isn't the first time that he's pushed his job off onto somebody else. You know, it's very his libertarian attitude toward things. It's happened time and time again. I was appalled when I read the Register when he endorsed the mayor of Costa Mesa, right? Not that he would endorse another Republican. Fine, I understand that. But his reason that because the mayor wanted the police to do the immigration. It's another thing where for 18 years he's babbled about immigration. Then he's trying to push the job off onto the city of Costa Mesa. But even if you believe the way he does, at least he should do the darn thing himself and get the, you know, on the ports he talks about national security and everything, and he votes against an Adler amendment that would have inspected the containers at the source. His reason was money. See, it's again, he doesn't want a nickel spent in this district. And it doesn't make any sense to me. They'll spend $1.5 billion a week for the war in Iraq. They won't spend $185 million to inspect the containers that come into the port. The worst imaginable thing would be a bomb would go off in one of those ports, right? It would stop our economy for the whole country. So anyway, I've gone on for a long time, but I feel strongly about these things, and we need a representative here that will be here, that will attend these hearings, will talk to people, will return your phone calls, and will be your representative to Washington, not the other way around. You know, and I've given the examples, but I'm telling you, he doesn't go to any of these things. It doesn't have a pulse. That's the way I see it anyway. We talked to a city council member from Huntington Beach, and when she tried to get him to give some federal help for parks. His comment was, people in Huntington Beach are too wealthy, they don't need parks. Now, it's a direct quotation. That's the problem when you have somebody in there that's never had a job, that's never, doesn't face the same thing that everybody else faces. And these are immediate changes that people could feel overnight, with a change in just one member of Congress. So it's important. I need your help, I really do. And things are going well. We're really confident. And what I need is, the first thing is if you register on my website. The website is on the do we have literature here? Oh, yeah. Okay. It's on the literature, BrandtForCongress.org. But if, and if you forget and put com, it'll still work. You'll get to it most ways. But get on there and register. That's the thing I need absolutely the most. So we can communicate. And then the virtual phone bank that I mentioned, if you could help me that way. And I'm sure Mel Hutt will bring up lots of ways that the campaign could use your help. But I just like your support, all the time. And I'd love to answer any of your specific questions, if anybody has any. Or did I talk too long? Wore you out?
When you win this election, you go to Washington, D.C., and I'll send a fellow for the group.
Okay.
I've just got a couple quick comments.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest, with the program you're presenting, any questions I sent you, just be little marshmallows, go for it anyway.
Oh, okay.
Along the theme of energy independence,
yes,
developing domestic technological talent, one of the things that strikes me is how college educations have been out of reach in terms of money for most people. And that ties in.
Yes, it does.
Because you want to create the largest, best, most comprehensive pool of people to compete for these various positions. I went to the University of California in the mid-1960s, late 1960s.
Oh.
My fees were $50 a term, an academic term.
Yeah, mine were $118 in the early 70s when I took a few classes at UCLA. And that included health care.
Yeah.
That included health insurance.
Yeah, and I mean, I ate a lot of macaroni and cheese. Yeah. And I had a part-time job, but I didn't consider it a gift to sit on my butt. I considered it a chance. And it's a chance that if I were 18 years old now, I would not have. Because my high school grades weren't that good.
Yeah,
and, family, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is, kind of as a suggestion, as you talk about healthcare and the warped approach of this administration, I think Medicare Part D makes such a perfect template as an example for everything they do wrong. Like having big pharma lobbyists, come in and write their law for them. Timing, I think, is on our side, because it's interesting. That notorious donut hole is going to hit a lot of Californians in September and October.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people who are otherwise halfway satisfied with their insurance and don't know about it are going to be very receptive to your critique.
And I add a lot of value in other ways. Two of my biggest clients are healthcare providers, the largest in the country. And so I see how the money's wasted firsthand, from going in and talking to them and looking at it and what little value they had. I actually had a senior executive for a major provider and when I asked him, what is the value that you add? I just straight out asked it, because the reason I asked was they had cut off two major IT projects that were over $40 million each. Just cut them, and that kind of money just going down the drain. I didn't understand. I asked him, what kind of, all this money, what value do you add? He had the gall to look at me and say, volume purchase. Now, I was an economics major in school. When you have a service, a doctor can only do so many procedures. There's no volume. It's just ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense. It's where they believe their own spin. But anyway, I have the personal experience in that area, as I mentioned with the military, that I can bring up these antidotes that describe